let's give our smiles to Marina in the chat.
Hello, everybody. Oh, that's so nice to see all of you smiling virtually.
Okay, now, Marina, yes, you can start. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I just need the screen share rights, please.
Yeah, yes, you can screen share. Ira, can you stop sharing your sound, please?
Right, so I'm really happy to be talking to all of you here today. And in this pretty short time, I'd like to share some ideas on how to roll 3 formats into one, rather extended one. And if you give me a second, I'm going to start my presentation so that it's not just words, but something more visual too. Right, please let me know if you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Great. So the 3 formats which can be rolled up into one combo format for like a maximum success with the students and really good speaking practice is a story plus a series plus a role play, definitely with a lot of game elements. So today I'm going to very briefly point out some interesting features because my main target for this short talk is just basically to inspire you and to give you some ideas. And later today, if you get inspired by the idea, you can play one of my games, the one which is going to be the case study for this short talk. So basically, Elena has introduced me already, so I'm not really going to talk much about myself. I'd like mostly to concentrate on the games I make and particularly on this format. Just to give you some idea of what it might be like, I'd like to show you a video. And I'm really sorry if you have already attended some of my presentations and talks, and you might say like, okay, it's just the same video. Well, is it just the only thing that you've ever done with your students? In fact, no, it's not the only role play I've done with my students. There have been like multiple instances and different types of role plays. But the reason why I quite often show the same videos of my students doing role plays is that not all of them are very happy about me filming, first of all, and sharing, because you understand that before I take a video or pictures of my students, I actually ask for their permission. And I usually explain that I will be showing that at conferences and I might be sharing that on social networks. So, well, they have to give permission. Basically, what it looks like in a classroom with, let's say, 12 to 14 students at a language department might be like this. Sometimes all of them will be talking at once. Sometimes it really depends on the scene they are role playing. While in other episodes, there will be 2, 3, or 4 people maximum.
I'm sorry.
I think it can continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, me. Oh, hello. Sorry, I'm late. I worked with the document conference. Oh, yeah. So welcome. Oh, hello. Hi. Nice to see you again. This is my colleague. This is my friend from the Moscow office. This is Tatiana Smirnova, and this is I'm sorry.
So basically what is happening here is the students know the legend for a particular role play. So, and it's actually a story which has a few episodes. We role play these episodes quite often at different classes. So it usually doesn't really take just one class to role play 2 or 3 episodes. Actually, it's pretty hard and they might be quite extended because, well, my students usually have a lot to say. They have some character cards, role cards, the description of the situation. They know which episode they are doing. They know the general idea of the story, and then they start improvising something which actually fits this guidelines. So they can do quite a lot of improvising, and this is one of the things that they really enjoy about it. So what's the whole point of trying to combine 3 different formats, and what's the issue with actually using some ready-made role plays, which might take 10 to like 30 minutes? There are quite a lot of ready-made ones. They're in teachers' books, teacher resource books. The ultimate point of creating your own role plays is that you know the purpose, you know the target, you know the learning objectives to be achieved in your classes, in a particular topic or a block of topics or a whole course. And then definitely you know how, well, to fit this using some instructional design principles, and if you know how to create games. Besides, since it's a game, it is really involving. Yeah, it boosts involvement on the students' part, and they can be creative. They can use all the language that they've been practicing up to that point in a new situation, or maybe in a situation where they have never been before. Like in this case, for my business English students who are really young, who are just 2nd or 4th year university students, doing role plays in a business context is something pretty new. That means that there's been a lot of preparation before we actually start doing this kind of role play. Right, so how do we do it? I mean, how can we create this combo format? Well, if you're interested, you can get what you can see here. I mean, as a separate file. So if you are interested, this can be sent to you as a, I don't know, as a gift, as a bonus after my talk, maybe tomorrow when there is some sort of mailing with all the materials from today's talks. But I'll just very briefly outline the major steps that you have to go through when you start creating a multi-episode role play. I understand this is pretty small, so I'll just be talking about that. So in the pre-production stage, you first will have to identify the learning outcomes. Yeah, so kind of backwards design for a game, for a course. So what are the learning outcomes going to be? Who are the students going to do that? What do they already know? I mean, in relation to this topic or the communicative skills that you're going to practice, and what do they still need to learn? What results do you expect to get? Or what kind of material, communicative strategies, and so on are you going to make part of the game, of the role play? Are you going to test this because, well, you've been practicing this already? Are you going to practice this because, well, role plays provide a lot of, opportunities for language practice? Or are you going to use a role play at a very first initial stage before you actually present any new material or communicative strategies, before you actually practice them with your students, just because you want to have a look and assess how much your students know about the topic or how well they can use certain communicative strategies which you are only going to practice with them? Then you have to identify the format that your game or role play is going to take. There are different ones. I'm sorry, that's a pretty long topic, so I'm going to skip it for now. Then definitely you decide on what elements there will be, what the scenario type will be, what the major storyline there will be, and what sort of sidelines are possible, how you can put all this together if there are some sidelines. Okay, actually, I'm going to give you some more examples in a couple of minutes, so don't be worried if that sounds like, gibberish to you. And then you think of some game mechanics to help your learners reach the desired outcomes. And you start materializing this for either doing that online with your students or doing that offline. The actual post-production or stage follows. I mean, when the students actually do it in a classroom. After that, the debriefing stage comes where you look back on this experience and discuss how it was and what could be improved in the future, what could have been done better, things like this. Talking about the story and how to create an interesting story which can boost your students' involvement and will actually want them to role play. The main thing is to stick to the layer cake principle, which means that having just one basic storyline could be, boring. And well, your students will do that because this is a task, and quite often in our classrooms, our students don't have the right to say, no, thanks, I'm not in the mood, or I don't want to do this right now. Can I skip this activity? So we really need to engage them by thinking of some other storylines which are deeper than what is on the surface, something intriguing, a detective storyline, and some characters which will be, in direct contrast to each other in terms of their motives, or people striving to get the same goal. So there are quite a lot of methods which can be used to do this. To give you a kind of, a short look behind the scenes, I'd like to give an example of one of the role plays I've developed recently, which is The Receptionist. And this is the role play we're going to play today. Well, I would like to say that it's the second upgraded version of the original role play which I created in April for my university students. But looks like I was really short of time. So today, if you'd like to take part in it, it's going to still be a test play. And there are still things to improve. And if you're interested, we'll discuss that in detail after you play the game at about 2:30, when we finish today. Right, so when I started creating the scenario for this role play, the major, main storyline was there's a hotel, there's a vacancy of a receptionist there, and basically they are looking for candidates which would be a good fit for the vacancy. They need to fill it quite soon. They need somebody for, let's say 3 years to work here. Well, there are candidates who submit their resumes. They come to be interviewed for this vacancy, and then the interviews take place. The interviewers shortlist the candidates, hold a second round interviews, and then they choose one person. Okay, that sounds pretty mundane, pretty obvious. Actually, it's a good story because it's realistic. Yeah. But just being realistic doesn't mean being fun, and might not really involve the students the way I would like to. That's why, well, I thought of this layer cake principle, and now I'm going to stop demonstrating because I'd like you to see something in a bit more detail. So I'm going to switch to my Miro board where the same thing was created. Can you see this now? This gives me an opportunity to make things bigger for you to see. 1 second. Let me adjust things. Right. How does the serious part of this combo format, how is it realized here? So you can see that there's a timeline here. A timeline showing something related to the game. It has different episodes. Episode 1 and episode 2, which actually happen simultaneously. If that's workable in a classroom, online or offline, so ideally happening simultaneously. The preparation stage, the interviewers prepare for the interviews. The green boxes here, well, rectangles rather, are for the scenes where interviewers are actively involved. So the interviewers are preparing for the interviews, and the candidates are preparing too. So 2 episodes here. Then episode 3, the actual interviews. first round interviews happen here. And then the scenario starts, you know, kind of go in different ways. Why? So again, 2 episodes might happen either simultaneously or like one after the other. I mean, episodes 4 and 5. Episode 4 is something pretty obvious, a discussion where the interviews review the candidates, their performance, and shortlist all of them to like 2 or 3 for the second round of the interviews. But at one of the previous stages, so let's think of this layered cake principle. What could be the second storyline which is deeper and not so obvious, which actually at the very beginning, none of them knows, none of the students knows? It's some sort of, you know, detective storyline, because just before the interviews start, the first round of the interview starts, the interviews get some inside information from their colleagues in a different hotel, in a different city, that there's going to be a fake candidate, or maybe more than one fake candidates, who are going just to infiltrate the hotel for different reasons. And they don't really know what kind of person that might be. That might be a police officer wanting for some reason to infiltrate the hotel. That might be a representative of a major shareholder, just to see how things are going and if the shareholder needs to keep the shares of the hotel or try to sell them if things are not going right. That might be someone else, that might be a drug dealer, again, trying to secretly infiltrate the hotel and do drug trafficking here. So only the interviewers get this information, and one of their tasks becomes to spot the fake candidate. So they have to be very careful, because all the CVs will look perfect. I mean, as good as they can. But they have to talk to each candidate, bearing in mind that some of them is or are a fake. And so to introduce the game element here, one of the game elements, okay, so how can an interview win? Okay, how can a candidate win? That's something quite clear. So a candidate wins if he or she gets the job, right? They get a job offer from the hotel, so they win the game. What about interviews? They work as a panel, they work as a team. So is it possible to win? If I introduce the second layer, yes, it is possible for them to win, because if one of them, and here they start competing, if one of them is the first to spot the fake candidate or one of the fake candidates, well, this interview wins. If there are 2 fake candidates, to win, you also need to understand what kind of job this person actually does. If this is a representative of the shareholder, or if this is a police officer or a drug dealer. Okay, so that's a way of for an interview to win. And actually, I'm really grateful for this idea to a colleague of mine, Anna Balhoeva, who was so generous to discuss this idea with me, and actually it was hers. So I give the credits to Anna. Right, okay, so you can see that the scenario can go different ways depending on which candidates are selected or not. If the candidates are selected, some phone calls take place and the second round of interviews. But what about another layer of this cake? Okay, so just for some fun, I've introduced another character, which is a YouTube vlogger. So here's episode 5. Just as the candidates are leaving the hotel after the first round of interviews is finished, they are confronted by a person with a camera who is a YouTube vlogger. So this person runs his or her own channel on YouTube about job interviews. So the vlogger wants to get some inside information from the candidates who have just been taking the interviews. The vlogger wants some juicy facts. But the candidates have choice, obviously. Either they want to give an interview, be filmed, and then appear on this YouTube channel, risking actually not to get the position, if this happens very soon, or if they refuse to do that, or if they agree but are quite confidential about it. Right. Then moving on. So the interview process goes on, and then... So the interviews, after the second round of interviews, have to make sure that the candidate they choose is not a fake, and they select one person. What happens if they select someone who is a fake? Okay, so it means that the interviewers failed their job completely, because in real life they would have to be doing it all over again. I mean, looking for candidates, trying to attract new candidates. So that's a lot of work, that's a lot of money for the hotel. And the candidate who gets the job offer either, oops, I'm sorry, there's a mistake, obviously, either accepts it or rejects it. Can't correct it now, but yeah, this should be accepts. So if the candidate accepts the offer, that's perfect. So they filled the position. If the candidate rejects, okay, so they have to talk to some other candidates who were shortlisted as second or third. But no matter if the candidate who got a job offer rejects or accepts it, this candidate wins, because the main thing for the candidate is to get the job offer. Okay, so basically that's the game we're going to play today. If you have any questions, you're really welcome with them. I'm going to have a look at the questions and comments in the chat. And
okay,
I'll be stopping my screen share. Thank you.
I'm very sorry, my neighbors started drilling the walls. Okay,
yeah, things happen.
Give Marina a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if you have any questions to Marina, you have like 1 more minute to ask these questions. If not,
okay. I can see just one question written in the chat log. Yeah. So if some candidate is not selected, is the game over? The game is over for this particular candidate, yes. But the selection process has to continue until well, there is a candidate who gets the job offer. Well, so Maria said that she would like to receive this as a complete package, a ready-made game. Well, I'm afraid that's not quite possible, at least at the moment. First of all, it's not quite ready yet. That's why we're going to do the first test play, and then there will be more test plays, but later, well, it might be possible to acquire it.
Okay, thank you, Marina. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, and actually, just in a few minutes, we will start our game tests, play tests, and you'll be ready to play a lot of different games with game masters who were here today with us. And maybe well, actually, this is the end of the official part. Of the conference part, and maybe we can give a round of applause to everyone and to all the speakers, and we will finish this official part right now.